Hey everyone, welcome to episode 50 of Formidable Opponents, a show that picks three people who have known each other virtually their entire lives in a series of conversations as we argue what is best in a variety of fun, engaging, and critical pop culture topics we all debate about. I'm Randall, and with me as always, Bob and Joseph, and today's topic is Best Beatles Song. First of all, to the gentleman who sent us the comment after our last episode, Worst Beatles Song, which read, "What do you idiots know? The Beatles are the best band on the planet ever." First off, no, Night Ranger is. Secondly, we hear you, sir, and you are absolutely right. We hope you are joining us for this episode, for this two-part episode that we mentioned we were going to do several times last episode. This week on Formidable Opponents, we're trading out the acrimony and surliness which we featured last episode to complement who many consider the greatest band of all time. The Beatles were pioneers, and in just 7 years, they were able to do the following. And we want to properly credit Peter Lee on an article he wrote for Hooks and Harmony on some of these stats he researched. They've sold over 1 billion records. They boast 20 number one hits in the United States, 19 number one albums, and 24 consecutive top 10 hits from 1964 to 1976, 6 years after they broke up, by the way. According to the United World Chart, the Beatles have 16 of the 100 most successful tracks of all time, and also 7 of the 100 most successful albums in history. The Beatles recorded 4 of the top 10 greatest albums of all time, according to Rolling Stone magazine, and 3 of the top 5, and that's because Abbey Road was lowballed at number 14. They have 23 of the top 500 songs of all time, according to Rolling Stone again, the most of any artist, many of which we will discuss on this episode. By the way, their third best songwriter wrote the song Something. Their third best fucking songwriter. You want to talk influence? According to Stacker.com, 21 of the top 50 most covered songs of all time are Beatles songs. They revolutionized the science of recording using multiple tracks instead of playing live. By the way, they also wrote their own shit. Lastly, top that shit, Oasis. This week, we're talking Best Beatles Song. Dr. Robert and JoJo, how are you guys doing?
Doing great, man. Doing great. 50th episode. We made it.
Yeah.
I believe we made it.
43 more than we anticipated. So we're
I was thinking it was going to be like a 1 or 2 part, a 2 episode thing, and then we're going to go and move on and break up like the Beatles, but here we are.
We're going to do our last podcast on top of a Circle K or something. Just
yeah. We're old as fuck.
So let's start off, firstly, by recognizing that this is our 50th show.
I think we really found our niche and our voice around the 38th. So the rest of that, prior to all that, is just crap. It's pretty cool. I mean, when I think we kind of just I don't know who mentioned it the other day, I guess, or when we were getting ready to do this, we were like, oh, fucking 50. It's like, wow, we're 50 episodes. Like, kind of Bob joked around. We didn't know what the hell we were gonna do. We didn't know what was gonna happen. We didn't know if we were gonna get tired of this. We didn't know anything. And here we are. I don't want to make this into some annual celebration, because it's not. We've already done that. But no, like you mentioned, thanks to our friends that have been cool and listened, and not been, at least not in our face or in text messages, told us that we suck.
Oh, they've told us that we're wrong, by the way. They've told us we're wrong.
They like to tell us we're wrong.
How could you choose that? Because I fucking did, man. I fucking did. You want to make your own show? You want to come on
this
the
show? This is my show, motherfucker.
How could you choose that? Why wouldn't you just say this?
So
I didn't.
All you guys do is talk. It's easy. I can do a podcast. I'm doing one right now.
I can talk.
But no, it's really cool. 50, here we are. If we reach,
looks like we made it. Who sang that? Sarah McLachlan. Looks like we made it.
That's Shania Twain.
Shania Twain. Yeah. Hey, Shania.
Looks
shout
like
out,
we made
Turn
it.
of the Millennials.
Shout out to Shania Twain. Yeah, it's our 50th. Do you think we would have got a gift basket or flowers or some shit? You know what I mean? Champagne, man. Yeah. 50th episode. I think that's pretty big.
Considering how much money we've made for our sponsors.
I know.
That's, by the way,
all our sponsors.
There's a sponsor that reached out to us, and I think they're an athletic company. I'm like, have you seen us?
The way we're talking about brisket and beer, man.
By the way, I like how when we quote our friends, we turn them into the cast of Blood In, Blood Out. What do you know about podcasting?
Yes, sir. That's hilarious, man.
That's true. I don't know why we do that. Suddenly, everybody turns into Cheech or something.
I crack up because we do get a lot of feedback, and a lot of our friends and family members they listen to a pod, and I like how I get text messages the next day like, oh yeah, I agreed with Joseph, or Joseph won, or Randy won, or you won. It's mostly me winning though. Sorry guys, I get to take the credit for it, but no. But I like that we get a lot of feedback, especially from our friends that listen to it on a weekly basis. We have a friend that listens to it while he works out. I guess our soothing voices helps him pick up that extra 45 pounds on the bench press or something. But it's pretty cool, man. I think it's pretty cool that we have a group of people that listen to us on a weekly basis, and it's a pretty large group of people that listen to us. I don't know why. It's kind of mind-blowing to me that they listen to us and our opinions, and they crack up with us, or they laugh with us, or they agree with us, disagree with us, probably yell at their radio while they're listening to it while they're stuck in traffic. So it's pretty cool. It's been a great ride. 50th episode. Never thought we'd reach 50.
No, I was just going to say quickly, we met up about a week ago for lunch. It was nice to get together. And
we were all three together.
Yeah, we were all three together.
No photos were taken. No fans. No nothing.
It happened,
on, people.
It happened.
Come on, people. Find us.
I know you might not believe it, but it happened. We didn't even mention to anybody. We didn't do anything. We were so fixated on eating. I guess we were hungry. We didn't even put out into the world that we were all together. And
I know we should have posted. We're going to be the Formidable Opponents, aka 3 Men and a Goat, are going to be at this shitty barbecue place in San Antonio when we want to go have a pulled pork sandwich with us.
But we had some good conversation about what we want to do in the future, and it was a lot of fun. We had a lot of funny. Hopefully things work out. Hopefully somebody agrees to do some stuff.
I think we need to make t-shirts so we can wear them out in public, so they can be like, hey, aren't you the guy from the shirt?
Yeah.
from that shitty show.
So
the server, I think, recognized Bob, and I think the server was hitting on you, right?
That's why I got extra gravy on my mashed potatoes that I couldn't eat because I was going carb free.
Shout outs to Raul. Okay, so we're trying to get a new feature up and running with Memo FM. Memo.fm. If you'd like to send a voice message to us, comment on any past or upcoming episodes, or give us a topic suggestion, or tell us what you think about the show, or just ask us a question. And you may do so at memo.fm/Formidable Opponents. That's altogether Formidable Opponents. The website is on the episode notes, and we will play and respond to your messages and on an upcoming episode. We may also be using memo.fm for a guest contributor. Those segment details are still being ironed out, and we do have a theme song for him, so we don't know if we'll get the rights to that.
Let's make it happen, Joe Michael. Come on, Joe Michael. You want to party or not?
Yeah. Hopefully he agrees to that. And you all out there, man, we would love to, if you got a minute or two, do what Randall said. I don't know anything about what he said.
Leave your voice comment.
Leave a voice comment. We would love to feature it. And if it's really funny, I mean, we'd love to play it. We'd love to get somebody, somebody's telling us that we were completely wrong or that we agreed. And if it's funny, if you're not being a complete dick about it, hey, even if you are, we might play it anyway.
Great radio waves.
It depends who's editing. I might not include anything that insults me, so we'll see what happens to that. And just shout outs to everybody who's listened to us. Turn of the Millennials, Did Not Need to Know podcast. Both of them awesome podcasts. Their episodes, these past 2 episodes that they've done separately, obviously have been very good. So check them out. Did Not Need to Know podcast. They just put an episode up on who's that guy from New York that killed all those people?
Jesus Christ.
Mayor. No, not Mayor.
Mayor?
What's his name? The mailman.
Summer of Sam?
Summer of Sam. There you go.
Jeez.
Yeah, don't watch the Spike Lee movie. Just listen to their podcast. You'll get a lot more information. But shout outs to Adrian Brody because he was great in that movie. So anyway, let's start off simple, guys. We're talking about Beatles songs. Why are the Beatles the best band ever? Does anybody come close?
I don't think anybody comes close, man. And the fact that they were only making music together from 1962 to 1970 and put out this crazy, astounding catalog of music and hits, and it's it's remarkable what they've done in that short period of time and how they changed music and transformed rock and roll. It's just it's mind blowing to even think about it. As far as anybody being up there with them, I don't think there is. I mean, you can mention somebody like the Rolling Stones. Oh, the Rolling Stones are one of the greatest rock bands. True, but look at the longevity of their career compared to the Beatles. The Beatles had 7-8 years, and they completely changed music. It's just I just don't see any other band doing what they did in such a short period of time.
I'd have to disagree with that. I don't think they're the best band.
God damn it, Joseph!
Here comes all the hate mail.
That's the end of the show.
Here comes all the hate mail. Look. Am I a fan? Most definitely. I'm more of a fan than that person who left us. What was it on TikTok? Because you can't separate.
You can't always get
you
what
can't
you want.
You can't accept the fact that they have bad songs. They do. Number 9. Anyway. No, I are they one of the most greatest, most influential? Are they up there as one of the greatest bands of all time? Most definitely. They're on plenty of people's Mount Rushmores. If the question is, are they the best band ever? No, I don't think so. I think there's way too many other great musicians. I know Bob mentioned the time frame thing. Look what Nirvana did in such a short time frame. Created this whole, or not created, but took that whole sound to new heights and new levels. Rolling Stones, like you mentioned, plenty of influences from the Rolling Stones. One of the bands that we talk about.
Since they've been playing music for 60 years.
But I don't think the longevity factors into that. I'm not saying they're not one of the greatest bands of all time. I can't call them the best band ever.
Who would you call the best band? Yeah. I know you mentioned Nirvana.
I can't. No, I can't do.
Was the Beatles?
I can't do that. I can't say who the best band ever is. I can't. I like way too many.
Make up your mind, Joseph.
No, I don't think anybody can answer that, dude.
No, of course not. I mean, I
the most definitely up there. Like I said, Mount Rushmore type stuff. They're there. Pink Floyd, I think, is up there. I would have to maybe argue them if I'm gonna have to choose best band ever, which I can't, like I said. But it doesn't. I'm not trying to take anything away from them. Of course, y'all are angry at me already so early on in the beginning.
Of course not. I agree. I mean, I love Pink Floyd, but I think they took a lot of their influence from the Beatles as well. So it's as well as other bands as well. But I think it's really hard to argue with the amount of hits and music and just great songs that they put out within that short period of time. It makes them kind of really stand out.
I agree. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. We talk a lot about how bands are over processed. It's not a new thing. Bands have been over processed and put through all the, trimmings to come out looking like $1 million. We always joke about boy bands, how, they go through factories and machines and they're brought out. That wasn't something new. That was happening since rock and roll began, since the 50s. The Beatles, what I think did was first of all, they wrote their own music. They did their own recordings. They obviously they had, great management and everything. But I think the fact that they revolutionized and they kept on moving in 7 years, it wasn't like, okay, let's be this band for 5 years and then let's be that band. They kept on moving. Every album, they evolved, they constantly changed, and they were so very young that I just think that, it's hard to argue what band did what they did. And the influences that still maintain, even by bands of today. I was listening to a Tame Impala song, and I was like, these guys sound like the Beatles on some of their songs. And
Impala, who's that?
Tame Impala, not Paula Abdul.
What? Tame Impala, I have to look that up. You ever heard
Tame Impala? They're good. Foxygen's another band that sounds like them. Arctic Monkeys are some of the other bands. Now we got an ESPN update.
God damn it, Joseph.
Sorry.
All right. So, do you remember the first time you heard the Beatles?
It was like the first time I heard the Beatles. You ever look into his eyes? It was like the first time I heard the Beatles.
I personally can't. Go ahead, Bob.
I can. I remember I heard some of the Beatles music because my parents were always listening to music when I was a kid, especially rock and roll, 60s, 70s rock. I remember hearing songs when I was a kid. I recognized the songs. I didn't quite know it was the Beatles until I think my parents brought home their number one. I think they released. It was like the red album with the yellow one in front. I remember bringing it in. They're like, "This is the Beatles," and they started playing a lot of their number one hits. And I was like, "Oh, I know the song. Oh, I know." So you played the song for me before, and they're like, "Yeah, of course." And that album, I listened to it all the damn time. So the Beatles were a huge part, but so was Led Zeppelin, so was Pink Floyd, so was, Black Sabbath. We listened to a lot of Leonard Skinner. We listened to a lot of 70s, 60s, 70s rock. So growing up, I heard a lot of the Beatles, man. It's reminds me of, just great fucking music growing up.
I can't remember the first time or how old I was, but I do remember probably the song that I was maybe introduced to them would probably be Twist and Shout, because as kids, or at least when I was a kid, that my mother would sing that to me, and as a kid, as a baby, she tried to get us, dance. She'd be like, dance, and she'd sing, Twist and Shout, and she'd hold my arms while I was standing up, and pull my arms to make me look like I was twisting, and so she'd sing Twist and Shout. So that's probably the first, even though it wasn't them I was hearing, that's probably the first song I might have been introduced to. But specifically, I can't remember the first time.
I knew Paul McCartney before the Beatles. Personally, I remember songs like
"Hello, Randall, it's good to see you. How are you doing? You haven't given me a ring on my telly."
So I remember, I'm gonna have to recover on that. So songs like Coming Up and Take It Away. I remember Paul as a single artist before I knew him as a Beatle. I remember he had Ebony and Ivory with Stevie Wonder. I know it's a song about togetherness, but he really didn't give Stevie Wonder equity in that song, by the way. Say, Say, Say with Michael Jackson.
Let him in.
Let him in. Yeah, exactly.
I'm not talking about Michael Jackson either.
But I knew Paul McCartney as a solo artist before I knew who the Beatles were. I think it was maybe second or third grade, listening to these songs on the oldie station as my dad was fixing his car, telling me to hold the flashlight and yelling at me for not holding it right. So Beatles they weren't a big band in my household, but they were just something I would catch on the side. Like maybe my dad would listen to a song, but my parents grew up as Elvis fans. They weren't Beatles fans. So just hearing them and growing and sort of hearing their songs and sort of evolving my musical taste. I mean, the Beatles had hit everything and they were just omnipresent, after, knowing who they were.
No, I was gonna say, what probably was another song that, and it was obviously well after they had disbanded, but because you mentioned Michael Jackson, "The Girl Is Mine."
Yeah,
that I know I heard that song because I think my brother had that album, so I heard that song, and I just at the time I probably didn't know. The album song came out about 82, I believe. So I wasn't born yet. I just probably thought it was a great song and I liked it, and then I didn't even know who the guy was, and it's fucking Paul McCartney.
I still can't believe that George Harrison was the one that sang "I Got My Eyes Set on You."
I know,
my mind, yeah.
Got my mind set on you. Such a good song.
It's a great song, but it doesn't seem like a Beatles song or a George Harrison song. There's the same guy who sang something and wrote something. So
there's 5 words in that whole song. It's just "I got my mind set on you" over and over.
It's gonna take time.
I forgot I was gonna say something about George Harrison. I can't remember now. So guys,
I'm sorry.
No, you're good. What one Beatles fact impresses you the most? If there's anything, and I read a few facts at the beginning, is there something that sticks out to you? Like, okay, this is why the Beatles are one of the biggest bands in the world.
Well, they had over 20 number one hits, man. They're number one all time as far as number one hits around the world. So that's it's Billboard Top 100 in the US, UK, and everything. That's an amazing feat all in itself. Again, 20 number one hits in a 7-year fucking span. It's kind of ridiculous. It's kind of you just don't see that.
I think for me, it's the fact that we like so many, and the songs that we'll talk about and mention are what they considered, or what was maybe the producer considered, A-sides or B-sides, or it got left off the album, and it was such a good song. There's so many songs that they have that are like that. They're like, oh well, it was recorded around the time this album was being produced, and this album has this great song and that great song, and this song that we love is an afterthought. Like they left it off the album. That's crazy. That to me, that's incredible.
I was reading up on the history of the band, and to me, their work ethic and music knowledge, for 2.5 years between 1960 and 62, they played over 250 gigs in the rough port city of Hamburg. These gigs were often 5 or 6 performances a night, and they were about 90 minutes long. So they were full-time job was playing music. They appeared at the Cavern Club in Liverpool between 1961 and 63, playing nearly 300 times. And in addition, they played a further 128 gigs in venues around Liverpool in 1961 and 134 gigs in the UK in 1962. So this was all before Please Please Me was number one in the UK in 1963. So you're talking about hours. If you average that out, they were playing 8-9 hours, and that was without rehearsal. So these guys were round the clock. We got to get it done. We got to push forward and spend time with each other. That's probably why they broke up at such a young age, because they were probably fucking tired of each other. Spending 10,000 plus hours around each other trying to make it big. So their work ethic, I think, is unparalleled. I think it's amazing.
You forgot to mention Yoko.
I think we'll get to her eventually.
Have you all seen the Get Back documentary that was on Disney Plus?
Some of it.
Oh man, I like her sitting in on all the rehearsals and practices, and like sitting in like band meetings with just them four, and like she's just sitting right next to them on the speakers and shit. I found that like really, I don't know, dude. I don't know, like off-putting. It like pissed me off. Like, dude, you can go sit. You don't have to sit like right in the middle of the fucking rehearsal. You could sit on the side. Why the fuck do you have to sit like right where John's playing his guitar 24/7? I know heroin had a lot to do with it, but Jesus Christ, that chick never left his side. Probably because he was the one buying her all the drugs.
That's where any kind of situation where a girl breaks up anything, and I'm not, this isn't me. I'm not trying to be,
this is you.
No, I'm not. We all know this. Like, look, I'm not trying to be sexist or anything like that. No. What was it? I haven't heard it in a long time, but you would hear it in like TV shows and movies. I think there was an episode of like Boy Meets World, I remember, where Topanga was giving crap to Corey and Sean, and I think Sean was like, "Chill out, Yoko." Like he was getting like he called her Yoko. So like that, I think that's what they used to be a thing. I haven't heard it in a long time, but
where she's the ultimate. Like, you all have your buddies, and if you go and play basketball, this one guy takes his girlfriend to all the like pickup games, and I can't hang out. I got to go hang out with my new girlfriend, and kind of takes her away. And in some cases, he moves out with her and leaves the area, and it happens. And happened to me.
Way to go, Ryan. That's why Ryan's not saying shit right now. He's like, "Hey, y'all can cut this out." Yeah,
keep Yoko's name out your fucking mouth. No, I'm in the absolute team of Yoko Ono helped to break up the Beatles, but can you really say Yoko Ono? It's John Lennon's life. It's his group. He has some say so. To say that she's the ultimate, I think she's uninfluenced, but to say that she's the ultimate reason, I think is
no, there's definitely not the ultimate reason. I know Paul at a certain point became really controlling with the type of music, like his genius. He wanted it, the guitar played a certain way, the drums played a certain way, and it really pissed off George Harrison and Ringo, and easily dismissing their songs or their ideas to get his in the forefront. He did that plenty, so that was another big reason. Lennon did the same, dismissed a lot of George Harrison's great ideas. But yeah, I know that Lennon and Yoko were really into heroin at that point in time, like in 68. And it was kind of like a downfall. Of course, all of them were on some kind of drug of choice, but even, but everybody was kind of, I know I was reading that Ringo, George, and Paul were like, fuck, like, oh yeah, I know we do drugs, but not heroin, Jesus Christ. So I think that played a big role in it. Having watched the documentary recently, there was a meeting because George Harrison leaves. He's like, y'all can find another guitarist, and he leaves. And they go to his house to have a meeting with him to kind of bring him back. And apparently, like, Paul talks, Ringo talks, and then Yoko's talking for John the entire time at the fucking meeting to try to get him back. Like, of course, that meeting didn't go well. And George Harrison said he's not coming back. They have to go meet with him again like a week later. This time, I guess John was more, vocal. So it turned out better for them because they brought George back. But that kind of thing, like, if it's a meeting with the band, it should just be the band, not producers, not wives, not girlfriends, not or what else, just the four original dudes.
Mm-hmm.
Granted, we don't know their situation. Granted.
That's true. The one thing I will say is when John Lennon became a singles artist, and he put up some wonderful songs, but he also put Yoko Ono on a lot of tracks and gave her a recording career, and for that's unforgivable. I don't get it. Yeah.
You know what's funny, and I'm gonna say this right now. John had the worst solo career out of everybody. He really did. I don't think he other than Imagine, a lot of his songs didn't really like, Paul put out some great shit. George Harrison put out some great shit. Even Ringo had a really great solo career. I just didn't get it with Lennon, man. It just wasn't I don't know what it was or what he was trying to do. I didn't like most of his shit.
I agree with that. I agree, but I also believe that it could have been better if he wasn't so like what Randy mentioned, just like into Yoko on everything, Yoko on all my albums. We're gonna do an album together where we're naked and we're just making sounds. And I mean, I think he could have had we know because he wrote great songs, but I don't know what the hell he's doing. I mean, that girl had a power over him, and I think he like Bob said, he didn't have the best career. He could have had better, and I think we all know why. If he well, one, unfortunately, his untimely death. But
that was terrible.
Yeah. Let's go on to our honorable mentions, guys. Okay, so who did you all have for your honorable mentions as far as greatest Beatles songs?
I can go first. So I'll just try to do this quickly. Your songs are on my list. So I'm obviously not gonna say them right now. But real quick, let me run through. "Love Me Do" is probably one of my favorite songs. I the blues type harmonic. I don't know. It just works for me. "She Loves You," "I Want to Hold Your Hand." Obviously, these are clearly
You do?
Yeah, I mean we all know the songs. "Can't Buy Me Love," "Get Back." "Get Back's really good. "Yesterday," I like "Yesterday." "Ticket to Ride," and "Coming Together." And I'll just leave this one lastly. "Across the Universe" was almost my selection. Earlier maybe today, as early as today, I was like, fuck, I should have went with "Across the Universe." It's a great song. I mean, it's also really up there, but there's so many. There's so many, and those are. I'll just throw those out there. I'm sure y'all have some of the same. Bob?
Yeah, I mean, I Want to Hold Your Hand. Obviously, "Across the Universe." "Fool on a Hill" is one of my favorite of all time. "Blackbird," love that song. "Helter Fucking Skelter," Paul's like hard rock off the White Album.
I didn't even mention Blackbird. My bad. "Strawberry
Fields," and then "Till There Was You" is such a beautiful song. I love it in The Wedding Singer. "Help." You ever seen the music video for "Help" when they're singing in the music video and they're sitting like on a piece of wood and they're all sitting in a row and they're singing and John's in the front, then Paul's second, Sam, and then George is third, and fourth is Ringo. And he's not even playing the drums. He's really high holding an umbrella. The entire music video, he's not singing nothing. He's bobbing his head and holding an umbrella over everybody for some reason. Check that out. It's a funny video. "While My Guitar Gently Weeps." Can't get enough of that song. "Got to Get You Into My Life," because "I've Got a Feeling." I love that song, man. "Can't Buy Me Love." And then one of the ones that I almost picked as well, probably, there's two. "Happiness Is a Warm Gun." Really, I mean, that song is fucking awesome.
Good song.
Really grungy, hard rock song from like 67, 68. No, it was off the White Album. I'm sorry. So great fucking song. And then "Free as a Bird." Now, this is a song that was released in 95.
I remember.
It was after Lennon had passed away. I think the Beatles got back together in the studio, Ringo, George, and Paul, to kind of finish Lennon's song. This is one of them. Released in 95. It really does sound like the music of the 90s, that alternative music of the 90s. If you watch the music video, which is extremely sad and heartbreaking, you know what I mean? Like a kind of like a remembrance video of like when they were younger, the lyrics follow suit with that. It's such a great, great song. And I think that's really inspiring for like the way the music was in the mid to late 90s as far as the alternative sound. But great song. I wish it had been released sooner, but in 95, man, after hearing it recently, I'm like, man, I can't believe that was released in 95. Such a great Beatles song.
Have you guys watched the old Eddie Murphy SNL skit where he claims he's the fifth Beatle? And
I know exactly what you're talking about.
I remember "Love Me Do." He was like, "Love me do." He's like, "Oh yeah, bitch, love me." And he would just sing in the background, and then he would just put his voice over "Ticket to Ride." Like they would say, "Oh, she's got a ticket to ride," and he would just come in saying, "The bitch don't care." He would just come in on the recording. So if you haven't seen the Eddie Murphy Beatles skit, do yourself a favor because it's one of his best SNL skits. My list: "I've Just Seen a Face." I love that song. "Helter Skelter," "Come Together." I think that's my second favorite Beatles song. "Drive My Car." It's just a fun song to listen to. "Get Back" is another great song. "Day Tripper." Love hearing that song. "Blackbird." I mean, you can't go wrong with that one. "Can't Buy Me Love." "Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds." "Ticket to Ride." "Help." A Hard Day's Night, Come Together, A Day in the Life, Joseph, and Something. I love Something. I mean, John and George sang very earnest, emotional love songs. Paul was like more like, let's just get our dicks wet. So, and
this is a very interesting twist, folks. We've taken definitely a left turn.
And shout outs to Jenna from the Did Not Need to Know podcast. She responded to our post on Instagram. Sorry about the segue, by the way. Don't let me down. She wrote, I want you. She's so heavy. You've got to hide your love away, which, by the way, Eddie Vedder does a great cover of it, Bob. I think.
No, he does not.
Blackbird, Something, and While My Guitar Gently Weeps, and Turn of the Millennials. 3 very strong suggestions. I've Just Seen a Face, Come Together, and that's just I don't know if I should have said those back to back. And
across Just Seen a Face, Come Together,
across the universe. Very strong selections from the 2 podcasts that we love listening to. Those lists are really good.
I didn't even mention Here Comes the Sun. Did any of y'all say that? That's another one.
No.
Which one did you say? Here Comes the Sun?
Yeah.
Here Comes the Sun is perfect. Get Back, another great song. Jeez,
it goes on.
There's so many. I left some off purposely off because if I mentioned all of my honorable mentions, we'd be here all fucking night.
True.
And so let's go ahead and go on to our suggest. Let's go ahead and go on.
We're making a lot of suggestive statements here.
Let's go on to our selections. Bob, you're up first.
Hey Dude. I actually went with Hey Jude. Now, again, let me preface this before we get any hate mail. It's extremely hard to choose the best Beatles song of all time, given that there's so many great hits, so many great songs, so many great lyrics, so many great sounds and styles and of music. Hey Jude was just one that's always stuck out to me as one of my favorites, as well as the best song. It was released in 1968 at the height of the Beatles' popularity, as well as the turmoil that's going on in the band. So it's a song that really meaningful, I think, as of what was going on in that time period. Written, of course, by Paul McCartney, that was inspired by John Lennon's son, Julian, after Lennon got divorced from his first wife, Cynthia, which I thought was really touching and really sweet and really beautiful that he would write a song for his best friend's kid. It was the kind of way for Paul to tell Julian that, everything was going to be okay. Bad things happen, but, you just got to keep moving forward. So I thought that was really special, and the lyrics were extremely meaningful. I mean, not that none of any other lyrics weren't meaningful. I just think that this was very touching that he was writing lyrics and as kind of a letter to John's 5-year-old son, which I thought was really sweet. Ironically, John Lennon really loved the song, but he actually thought the song was about him, not his son. He was saying that Paul subconsciously wrote these lyrics as a way of giving him and Yoko Ono his blessing. There's certain lyrics in the song like, you found her, go out and get her. He thinks that, this song's about me. He may not think about it, but it's songs about me, letting me go so I can be with Yoko. So, that may have just been ego or something, but I thought that was really sweet that John found that different interpretation of the song. The lyrics, again, are just beautiful and memorable, and they're both inspiring and they're sad all at the same time. It's a song that fans can sing along with on the radio. It's a song that make you happy. It's a song that can make you, a little sad. It's a phenomenal song, and it's a love song, which is really great because, I think the Beatles sang so many love songs. A lot of their songs were love songs, and I think this one kind of tops them all. In the fact that it's a love song inspired and written for John Lennon's son, it just makes it that much more remarkable. The ending coda, I really, really love the ending coda of the song. It's just them singing, na 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 na. Hey Jude, they do that for 4 minutes, and it seems like after, like, kind of like an uplifting end to it. You know what I mean? Considering the song was inspired and written for such a sad situation, a divorce, which is common, but a 5-year-old son kind of losing his dad because his dad's leaving and leaving the family for another woman and everything like that. And I think that the song is very sad because of that, but it's kind of uplifting in the other lyrics, and then the ending coda. I especially like when they did the video for it, or the live version. They're singing it like in a studio with an audience, and all the audience kind of like surrounds them and gets closer to the Beatles, and they all kind of sing along in that ending coda, that na 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 na. I love that part. Hey Jude. So it's just an overall a wonderful song. It's a beautiful song. It's been nominated for a million awards. It hit number 1. It was, it had a 9-week run at number 1, which is like this huge deal. back when it came out. I think that was like the longest in history for the next like 10 years or something like that. So it had all the accolades and everything, but besides that, I just thought the story of it, the music, the lyrics, and everything, being able to create such a perfect song, amongst all this craziness going on with the band and the world, that it just makes it perfect for me. Like you mentioned, a beautiful song. If you read into the origin story of it, the whole situation is pretty sad. All of it, which I familiarize myself with again today. This one's upbeat, so I like it more than your pick, Randy, which we'll get into later. Just a personal walk away. Just a personal preference for me, I guess. When I think about the Beatles, I think of this sound of this song. It's very upbeat. It's got a great message if you're down in the dumps, like I think Bob said, and if you know the song in general, and listen and read the lyrics. I mean, clearly he was trying to, do something nice and lift the spirits of the young man, which I don't know if Bob's said, but like if you read into that, I mean, I can't remember her name. Lennon's first wife was heavily involved with the band since the very beginning. So it's like they were all very great friends. And when that whole situation happened, it's like, she's Paul's friend too. This is Lennon's son is like, a son to him. So, I mean, it was just lovely. It's a song I don't mind hearing when I'm out at a bar, definitely with friends. I know there's some, always a situation where you can be out somewhere and people are like, oh, let's play the Beatles. This is one that you can play. It's pretty good. It's catchy as fuck, but I don't think it's I don't think that's a bad thing. Another song with great chart numbers, like Bob said. I think I saw that out of like 10 countries that track music at the time. The year-end 1968 charts had this song in the top 10 in all but 2 countries, I believe. Number 11 for the Belgians, and number 23 for the Aussies. I mean, what was going on down under there, mates? It's a great song. The man of many voices, folks. This is is definitely more, I feel like, a universally known song for the Beatles, probably due to that opening lyric and the 4-minute ending of the Hey Jude. I mean, that's an iconic opening, that 2 words, Hey Jude. I mean, you fucking know it immediately. Yeah. I think the song could have started to end around the 4-minute mark, because the song is, I believe, 7 minutes and 11 seconds. Around the 4th, na 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 na, Hey Jude. That's when you could have started to trail off. I think they wanted it to feel like a never-ending song, you know what I mean? Party. That song, they never ending party, never ending, like uplifting, like we're gonna keep going, everything's gonna be okay, we're gonna keep moving on and keep going and keep going. So, like life. So I think that was the intention. Towards the end of it, I always, when I hear it, I get this Steven Tyler vibe where he's like, I can't do Steven Tyler, sorry. I can't, and my voice is probably fucked up. So as much as I like this song, that's probably about around the time that I change it. I don't think that's a bad situation. Like I said, it could have just been ended. It's still a great song. I don't have too many negatives on this pick. Really, I don't. Like all of our selections, I think they can all be considered the best. The songs that we're gonna pick, you said yours were the songs we're gonna get into, and I'm sure that they're favorites of many of our listeners and people around the world. So this is a topic that we're gonna try to talk shit to each other, but obviously we like the song. So this one's a good one. This is a really good one. I don't have too many negatives other than what I just said. It's very, very like I said, iconic and world renowned, or worldly known. I don't know how to say it. You know what I'm trying to say, Randy.
So Steven Tyler. All right. Jude looks like a lady. Okay, so it's my third favorite Beatles song. I
was gonna throw in a dad joke.
It's my third favorite Beatles song, and my third favorite song about questionable parenting, ahead of Madonna's "Papa Don't Preach" and Sublime's "Caress Me Down." All right, so Paul wrote this song to comfort Julian Lennon as his parents were getting a divorce, and you mentioned that, Bob. Now that's a friend. Daryl Hall would never do that shit for John Oates. Fuck reassurance. Where are you with the woo-woo part of "You're making my dream come true," motherfucker? All right. So in 1987, Julian ran into Paul in New York City where they were staying at the same hotel, and he finally heard Paul tell him the story about the song firsthand. He admitted to Paul that growing up, and this is sad, he'd always felt closer to him than his own father. In Stephen Turner's book, The Stories Behind Every Beatles Song, Julian said, Paul told me he had been thinking about my circumstances, about what I was going through and what I had to have gone through, or what I'd have to go through. I'm sorry. Paul and I used to hang out quite a bit more than my dad and I. There seemed to be far more pictures of me and Paul playing at that age than me and my dad. So that's just heartbreaking to read. And guys, I don't know if you've heard Julian Lennon sing, but he sounds exactly like his father.
Really?
I mean, you can't tell. There's a song called Much Too Late for Goodbyes. I think that's about his father. I think that was his biggest hit. But if you haven't heard Julian Lennon sing, Much Too Late for Goodbyes, and there's another song, it's named after a female, I can't remember, so the title of the song escapes me, but he sounds exactly like his father. You can't tell the difference. So blessing, curse, I don't know. At 7 minutes and 11 seconds, at the time, it was the longest song to ever be released as a single, but it paved the way for songs like American Pie and Layla. Stations learned that if listeners like the song, they will stay. And disc jockeys finally got to take a shit break. So good for them. The song sold 10 million copies in the U.S. alone, becoming the Beatles' fourth highest selling single. And George Harrison wanted to play a guitar riff after the vocal phrases, but Paul wouldn't let him. Things got tense between them around this time, and McCartney got very peculiar about how Harrison played on the songs he wrote. And you talked about that earlier, Bob, how these guys were very territorial about how they wanted things to be played about the songs that they wrote, which sort of grew as the band grew bigger. And that was all the good stuff. Now the bad. And Joseph, you mentioned this. The na 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 fade out takes 4 minutes. 90 seconds would have been good for me. I think we're good with 90 seconds of na 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 na. I mean, that's just me. The chorus is repeated 19 times. Did we need to hear that chorus that many times? This song could have been under 5 minutes, and that's just my thing. I think, Hey Jude, 5 minutes, you're good. It's a long song anyway. And I would end it at that. Now, my last point is that Sesame Street did a parody of this and a tribute to healthy eating called Hey Food. Now, I want to bring this up. So I sent a text to Bob and Joseph about the cover art this week. By the way, Dina at Creative Little Pill did an awesome cover art of us. So I made the suggestion, tongue-in-cheek, about saying, why don't we do an Abbey Road cover? And you can see all our covers on Instagram. Why don't we do an Abbey Road cover and then have us walking behind the Beatles? And, but Bob, like, even before I could say, just kidding, he said, no, we're too fat. We're going to look too fat walking behind the Beatles. I was like, well, you could put an Arby's on the other side of the street.
Taco stand.
Call it Arby Road. I think we would look way too fucking big for the Beatles. But, so that's my only bone to pick. I really wanted that Abbey Road cover. But, Bob, defend yourself. We're too fat for it, apparently. So that was but great song. I love this song. I think it's one of the more popular Beatles songs out there, and you can't go wrong with it. So,
it definitely is. Like I said, that was probably my only, it just could have ended sooner, but it's such a good song.
And I get that point from both y'all, but I mean, like you said,
it's so beautiful.
It kind of paved the way for a lot of longer songs. Bohemian Rhapsody wouldn't have been Bohemian Rhapsody if Hey Jude didn't come out and kind of pave the way for this longer song, the 7-minute song.
What do you guys think is the best trail off ending? The trail off ending to Hey Jude, Bohemian Rhapsody, American Pie, or Layla? Which one is the best trail off?
Layla.
It's not American Pie, guys.
No, it's not American Pie. Oh man, it would either be.
I think it's Bohemian Rhapsody. Nothing really matters to me. That last lyric with the piano playing afterwards.
I'd probably have
amazing.
Yeah, I'd change my pick to that with a close second being Layla.
I think Layla's a good one, but I mean, Hey Jude, it's great. I like the ending. It's just about 90
I think it has the best opening lyrics. I mean, Hey Jude,
it's very iconic. Very iconic.
Sing a sad song and make it better. Like that's really, really, really heartfelt lyrics to open up the song.
And great video. I absolutely agree. We'll go ahead and move on to my pick. So I selected Let It Be, and everything I need to know about this song is in the title. It's just a good song to sort of collect yourself to. And I know Paul played it at Linda McCartney's funeral, so it has a lot of sentimental value for him. And according to McCartney, this is a very positive song, owning to its inspiration. One night when he was paranoid and anxious, and this is a very famous story, he had a dream where he saw his mother, who had been dead for 10 years or so. She came to him in a time of trouble, speaking these words of wisdom that brought him this peace that he needed. It was a sweet dream that got him to start to write the song. And I think, this song being released in 1969, one of their last songs that they've released, I think this song was a lot about what the band was going through. It's like, we tried keeping this together. We're getting on each other's nerves. We want to do our own thing. I think Paul said, you know what? I'm going to make chicken salad out of chicken shit. I'm going to make a song about this. And I think this is a song where he's addressing the band and saying, let it be. Let's just move on. He told the story to James Corden when he appeared on the Carpool Karaoke segment on James Corden's show. She was reassuring me, Paul said about his mother, saying, it's going to be okay. Just let it be. I felt so great. She gave me the positive words. I woke up and thought, what was that? She said, let it be. That's good. So I wrote this song, Let It Be, out of positivity. By the way, if you want to trash this song because of the new association with James Corden, I'll allow it. Okay. So when asked if the phrase Mother Mary in the song referred to the mother of Jesus, how timely, a day after Easter, Paul McCartney has typically replied that listeners can interpret the song however they'd like. You could interpret it the way you like. If you feel it's a biblical phrase or whatever, go ahead. It's what you believe the song is. And I think that was a very powerful statement for him to make.
That was a smart statement for him to make.
Well, I mean, I know John
they're
said
bigger
something.
than Jesus.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. We talk about what ifs with the Beatles breaking up so young, but to me, this song is their apex. And if this is what they wanted to go out with, they absolutely nailed it. The soul, Billy Preston on keyboard, and the guitar solo is just amazing, very underrated. John Lennon hated this song because it has of its apparent Christian overtones. He made the comment before recording it, and now we like to do "Hark the Angels Come." So he really smart ass John that he is. This song was about the end of the Beatles, as I mentioned before, and I think what a way to go out. It was produced by Phil Spector, who is a murderer, by the way, so Did Not Need to Know podcast. If you want to cover Phil Spector, here's the idea. Check it out. Okay, at the time, it had the highest debut of the Billboard Hot 100, beginning its chart run at number 6 and eventually reaching the very top. Classic Beatles song. I think it's a song that encompasses everything. I think if you wanted to say, what is the quintessential Beatles song that has heart, soul, that's slow, that has a great guitar, that has great melody, I think you have to go with Let It Be. I think it's their all-time classic, their all-time favorite song. I've mentioned this on the podcast before, but what do you guys think about it?
It's an extremely sweet song, a sad song, Let It Be, kind of uplifting too, but again, it's not one of my favorites. It's a really great song, and I'm kind of like on Lennon's side with this. I get the dream side of it was really cool, having a dream about his mom and her telling him to let it be. Considering this was on the Let It Be album, which there was a shitload of turmoil and fighting and things going on within the band, and it was kind of like the beginning of the end at this point. I think the song is really sweet. I like the kind of the piano sound to it. It's really good. It kind of reminds me of Hey Jude. I think that the lyrics are good. They're okay. It's again, Let It Be is not one of my favorite songs. Not that it's a bad song. It's just not one of my favorite songs from the Beatles. So it's a song that you can't listen. I think it's a situational basis to where you listen to this song. You don't listen to this song, when to sing it out loud and smile and laugh with your kids while you're driving on a road trip. You don't listen to this song while you're drinking with buddies at a bar. This is kind of like a personal song that you listen to quietly to kind of reflect, like you had mentioned earlier. So I think that maybe, not that it holds it back, but it might just a bit, because I would think of the greatest Beatles song being one that's like, has a little bit for everyone, that type of thing, and for all situations. And I think this one kind of fits a specific type of mood or tone. So it's a wonderful song. It's a beautiful song. How can you hate a song like this? Because considering where it got the inspiration from. But I do feel like it's one of their mood songs. So I think you have to be in a certain kind of headspace to listen to it. What do you think, Joe?
I think it's funny what you mentioned, Randy, about how just Lennon kind of shitting on this song, and I'll mention something at the end. It reminds me of the opening to the last episode that we did. We threw that little clip in from Walk Hard, where McCartney and Lennon are going back and forth at each other, and what does he say? He says, he's like,
there's a rift between the Beatles.
No, he goes, he writes the ones that are all, oh, there's no God, I'm a fucking asshole. And I write the ones that are beautiful. I thought that's exactly what popped in my head when you said that. Anyway, oddly enough, both of you chose songs written and sung by Paul. Maybe you all are trying to say something. As you mentioned, and as I just said, written and sung by McCartney. I don't understand the whole Lennon-McCartney credit. If you look into to their songwriting thing, there's like a thing. It's like a fucking thing.
So they all they both get credit for it. So like
regardless, right?
I think it has to do with their company and their music and like the money wise too. Like any song that Paul writes, so it's
pretty
him
much
and Lennon, and anything that Lennon writes, so it's him and Paul. They kind of made it partnership, leaving of course George Harrison and Ringo just like fuck you all.
I know, right? So honestly, I think that was a bunch of bullshit, but it is what it is. So I think you mentioned it's their final single from the band before McCartney announced his departure. We all know this is his song. This is McCartney's song. And I think he should have just kind of tucked this one away for his other projects. I guess, like you mentioned, in a way, you can kind of see it as the writing on the wall. When you do listen to it and you do read the story of its release and its recording and the timing of it. So I guess it worked out. I know the numbers are great. I know the chart numbers are great. I know this is probably a solid pick for most people. Might even be their favorite song. Might even completely 100% agree with you, Randy. But for me, I just don't see it as the best Beatles song ever. It's not the sound that I think of when I just think of the Beatles, and I don't think that's a bad thing. I love this is a great song. It is. We all know that, and we're just kind of with this, we're just nitpicking at shit.
Can I make a quick point?
Yeah, go for it.
The way I feel about Let It Be is the way that you mentioned yesterday. When we talked about yesterday last week, how you're like, it might be, you think it's overrated? They play it at the memoriams and stuff. I think that this is a song that you would hear be playing at one of those memorial things, actors that have passed on or band members or celebrity or family members. Like it feels like that type of song, like a yesterday song. I guess the way certain people feel about yesterday is the way I kind of feel about Let It Be.
I get it. Go ahead, Joseph.
In agreeing with it, I don't agree that it's overrated or overplayed, which I did.
Oh no,
I highly disagreed with yesterday because I love that fucking song. Were you going to say something, Randy? I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to say, Let It Be felt like a collection because you had like the organ, you had the guitar solo, while yesterday just felt like just Paul McCartney by himself. And that's the only reason why I thought this was a more inclusive song, but that's the only take I have.
He says "Let It Be" too many times. You're like saying, he said no, I could have had enough of that no stuff, but he says "Let It Be" at least 4 fucking times. God damn it, man, we get it, bro, we get it.
So as I was saying, I just don't see it as the best ever. It's not the sound that I think of when I think Beatles. The Beatles, as we've discussed in the beginning, are called one of the greatest rock bands of all time, if not the greatest rock band. Which I didn't agree to that, but I mean, it is something that people have said. When I think of that, I think of like what we were introduced to when we first heard them. And I know you got to evolve as your career goes. Situations happen in your life and that affects your music. But I will always see the Beatles as this fucking, moving and grooving guys who wrote some kick-ass songs. When I tried to find a song for myself for this, I didn't look at this what I would consider a ballad. I guess it wasn't the sound that I was trying to find. And for, there was even at one point I wanted to, the thought in my head came for Love Me Do, but I was like, no, that's just more my personal favorite song. One of my favorite songs. Can't consider it the greatest. But that's the sound that I think of. And maybe that's probably just, the metalhead in me who prefers to hear the, harder songs. And since I'm being honest, Let It Be is not necessarily one of my favorite songs, kind of like what Bob said. And I'm not shitting on the song. I know we're going to get fucking, that guy from Tik Tok's going to fucking hate us.
Let it be, bro.
You're giving shit about calling Love Me Do metal.
Yeah, he's gonna start talking trash, and I'm just gonna put "Let It Be" right underneath it with an ellipsis, the 3 periods.
It's not a bad song. We know that. It's a great song. It's just not really on top of my Beatles playlist. I'm gonna play the more rock and songs and the psychedelic stuff and the party feel good stuff. It's just personally, that's what I'm gonna do. The album itself that this song is on, the Let It Be album alone has great songs on it that can compete. It has Get Back. I really like that song. I've got a feeling, and of course, that song, and of course, Across the Universe. You know, that's like I mentioned in the beginning. I kind of at one point I was going to go with this song, and that's going to be my taste. And I know people are going to disagree with that, and you know, that's cool. Hey, that's what we're here to do. We're not here to agree on everything. And yeah, that's my take on this. Side note, though, I thought it was pretty shitty what Lennon, you know, says about this song. You know, I don't know if you know, in a 1980 interview with Playboy, he disavowed any involvement with composing the song, saying, "That's Paul. What can you say? Nothing to do with the Beatles. It could have been Wings." I don't know what he's thinking when he writes Let It Be. So I just, but you take the credit. That's why I mentioned the Lennon McCartney credit shit in the beginning of this. I was, or my beginning of my rebuttal. I was like, I just think that's a pretty fucking shitty thing to do, because. Well,
I mean, I think too.
It just kind of made me like look at like Lennon, like, God, you're an asshole sometimes.
But also at the same time, Paul McCartney at that certain point was being a control freak about every little thing. That's why George Harrison said, "All right, man, I'm out, guys. Peace out. Fuck y'all." Because Paul McCartney was being, and I love Paul McCartney. He's probably my favorite Beatle. He became a control freak about every little specific thing, and it became kind of the Paul McCartney show. Like, this is my music. We're gonna make my shit, and this is the way I want it to sound. This way, if you can't do it, I'll do it for you. That type of thing. And it seemed like, you know, with that attitude, plus you know, the Christian overtones of it, you know, Lennon's like, fuck this guy. He already was doing what he wants to do. And this is again in 1970 when they broke up. Not even like shortly afterwards. So I think it was already the beginning of the end, and the whole process itself was probably frustrating making this specific song, because it's a Paul song and he wants it done a specific way, a certain sound, and a certain everything. And I think everybody was just tired of it. And this might be like the straw that broke the camel's back, that type of thing.
Did you guys feel the same? Did you guys feel the same way when I asked you to adjust your Zoom settings? Were you like, fuck this guy?
I'm gonna sound better. Why?
I mean, I don't know if I had a point, Joseph. I didn't know if you were wrapping up on something.
I was going to say something.
You called John an asshole.
No. Okay, we'll cut. But like I understanding what you say, Bob. But maybe at the time, and you know, he may have been controlling, but he was also probably. I can see the frustration. I can understand it, and like this was like you know, we mentioned, like Randy mentioned, it's kind of like a fucking message. Like, this is, like he said, like this is done. It's over. Just let it be. Just like, and I just let me do my fucking song to tell you all that this shit is done.
Like, I mean, it kind of seemed like
I understand
holier than thou, though, type of thing. Like, I mean, fuck you, I'm gonna do my own thing, because, you know,
I understand it both ways.
Let it be. Mother Mary came to me and told me God told me it was okay for me to let it go. You know, I know I'm being an asshole.
You know, God
spoke to me personally.
No, I never heard those Christian overtone stuff. I've never considered this to be any kind of religious song, personally. I don't hear that when I hear this song.
There was a lot of contentiousness between Paul and John, even going into the 80s. Paul was criticizing John Lennon's first albums as a solo artist when he was putting them out in the late 70s and early 80s after he was done with Wings. And, you know, he was very critical of Paul's music. And the sad thing about it, and we all have to understand that at this time, they've all reached their creative apex. They were very young, but they were also yearning to do their own thing. I mean, when you have that many geniuses in a room saying, we got to do this and we got to do that, people are going to start, you know, there's going to be a lot of vitriol, a lot of discontent. And so I don't know if you guys ever saw this, but when John Lennon got shot, they interviewed Paul McCartney. I think he was on the street, and they asked him what his thoughts were about Paul's death. About John's death. And he said, well, that's a bummer. And, you know, he just kind of like shrugged it off. And I'm pretty sure if he could take back that moment, he would. And I think in his older age, he realized, like, wow, this thing that we had together was so important, and we let petty squabbles sort of, you know, decimate it. I'm sure they don't have any regrets. They all went on to have big careers as solo acts. But I mean, when you think back about their, not hatred, but their sort of rivalry and discontent with each other, you kind of think, like, how did all that happen? How did that spiral out of control? And how did they let this end the way it ended? So yeah, it's just a question.
It's a really sad situation.
Yoko. Not
So Joseph, let's go ahead and go on to your selection.
As I mentioned earlier,
Wrong.
for a while there, I was gonna go with Across the Universe, and I listened to it again today, and I was like, "Fuck, this is a really good song. It really is." But anyway, I went with "Don't Let Me Down." Let's just throw this out there real quick. I personally thought Bob was gonna select this song, so I didn't think it was gonna be one that I was gonna be able to talk about available. When he chose this song, I said, "Okay, I'm going with Don't Let Me Down." Anyway,
Sorry about that.
Sorry for what?
Oh, you didn't hear that Outlook email come in?
No.
Okay, never mind. Forget it. We'll edit that out.
No, I like it.
Extended warranty.
So I went with "Don't Let Me Down," the only song that Lennon might actually take credit for, really, because according to the reports, it's a song written about Yoko Ono. Interesting enough, we've talked some smack about her, but this is a great song and it's written about her. I can't remember when I first heard this song. I just remember that I liked it, and I liked it a lot. Maybe it was the more rock sound of it. I don't know, the somewhat screaming vocals. It just works for me. I thought it was really awesome. So that, it's got a great beat, excuse me. Nothing crazy on guitars, but I mean, it sounds really, really awesome. Like I think the story it tells is really cool. We've all been in a situation where we have to step outside, our comfort zone in a new relationship and be vulnerable. And like the song says, you're just hoping that, telling that person, don't let me down. So it's got all three of these songs that we've chosen have just like these really great messages, all on their own. One about, just letting life come at you, I guess, and letting it be. The other about, hey, don't be down, like, pick yourself up and get yourself going. And this one, about being, love and taking a chance and please just like don't let me down, like the song says. A little sexual in nature with the "she done me good" line, she done me good, like but it wouldn't be the Beatles if it didn't have a little danger in the lyrics, right? Like Bob's selection, like I mentioned, I think this is universally known. Even if you're not the biggest Beatles fan, I think it's a song you can start off with if for some reason you don't know who the Beatles are, but I doubt that. I think this is a great song for anybody's kids to get into. Bob has mentioned this many times, his daughter's favorite song. I'm sure it was your son's favorite song at one time too. Funny story, I was out one night years ago and I was at this real shitty dive bar on 10th near Holiday Wine. I don't know if you know that area.
I do.
I don't remember the name of it, but I mean, this place was like, what the fuck am I doing here? The places you'll go to have a night out with a new girl. Anyway, and we were watching this band play live. This tells you about the place I was at. This band was jamming some of my favorite hard rock and metal songs. And they did a cover of Sober, I remember. Sober by Tool. And I thought, you know what? For a cover band, not bad. Maybe it's the beer. Do you know Sober by Tool? Do you guys?
Oh, of course. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So it's so heavy song.
Come on, Joseph.
Over here, Joseph.
Jesus Christ.
So
Sober by Tool, little boy.
So a heavy song, right? Anyway, all of a sudden I hear the opening to "Don't Let Me Down," and I'm like, "What the fuck is going on?" And granted, the kid that's singing for this band, he's dressed all in black. He's got long hair. He looks like he's in Cannibal Corpse. And suddenly, like, you hear the guitar part, and then the kid, "Don't let me down." And I was like, what the fuck is going on here? I was just listening to fucking Godsmack. I was listening to Tool. I just heard this guy singing about, singing Sober by Tool. And I thought, you know what? This is really fucking cool. It was really cool. Definitely unexpected, but I think that helps, kind of, I guess, the argument that I'm trying to make. It's popular song. It's influential. If a Cannibal Corpse guy can be inspired and turn "Don't Let Me Down" into a hard rock groove, it just proves how big this band was and is, years after the fact. And I think this song is a part of that. I think personally is one of my favorite songs. I can't really, I don't know if I could say I have a favorite Beatles song because there's just so many. But I think I don't know. I don't know how we're doing this topic, but anyway, that was my selection.
First off, I just want to say that I'm very disappointed in you, Joseph. Very disappointed. We did Best Nirvana Song, and Joseph chose a song written about Courtney Love. And we do Best Beatles Song, and he uses the one song that John Lennon wrote about Yoko. God damn it, Joseph. God damn it. God damn. Very disappointed in you, sir. Very disappointed in you. Jesus.
You let us down.
And anybody up. Yeah. Don't let me down. Damn it. Now, this is one of my all-time favorite songs. This is my daughter's favorite song. This is the one I want to listen to when I'm out at a bar drinking or I'm having a beer in the backyard, or this is one I want to listen to and sing with the kids or in the car. They love this song. This is definitely a rock song. It really highlights. This is one of the songs I was originally going to choose as well that I win against. I'm sure when my daughter, she gets older, she's going to kick my ass for not choosing it. But
she'll be like, what was a podcast?
It's definitely going to highlight. It definitely highlights Ringo's drums. It definitely highlights, of course, Paul's bass line, George Harrison's guitar play, Lennon's voice, Lennon's guitar play. I mean, the video for it, it's just a bunch of dudes in fur coats, and then Ringo dressed like a pimp from the 1960s in a red, like, leather trench coat, jamming on a rooftop, which is like really iconic, man. Yes. Iconic in performance, and everything about it was beautiful. In Get Back and the documentary on Disney Plus, that they highlight that at the very end, and they're showing the live version and the crowds of people and the cops and whatever. Anyways, it's a great song. It really is a rock song. There's nothing else about that. You could say, they've done some poppy songs, they've done some, ballads, stuff like this. It's definitely a rock song that really highlights, like I said, the guitar, the drums, the bass line, stuff like that. And, Billy Preston too on the electric piano, fucking amazing. I think that this is a great song, a great pick. I would not say, how could I not say that it's not one of their best, because I almost chose it. Shit. It is a song about Yoko Ono, and that's what knocks it down a few pegs, Joseph. I'm just going to say that. I'm just throwing that out there. I don't know what it is about Courtney and Yoko, and we hate her, but you're like, but this song was so beautiful about her. I had to choose it. But that's my argument against it. That it was a song written for Yoko, and it's kind of like maybe I'm reading too much into the lyrics, but he's like it's like a desperate plea telling her, don't let me down, like he's been hurt before, and don't let me down, Yoko. And it's fucking ridiculous. So that's all I'm going to say to that extent. Randy, what do you think about the song?
I'm afraid if we do a Sex Pistols episode, Joseph's going to pick something that Sid and Nancy did heroin to or something and fucked up the band. But I like this song. I think it's a really good song. Do you guys remember the Simpsons episode where the B Sharps did the performance on top of the rooftop and George Harrison's walking and he's like, it's been done before. Great.
Yeah. They're singing Baby on Board, right?
Yeah. Great episode. One of my favorite Simpsons episode. Yeah. As a reminder, this is towards the end of the band being together. I want to read off their ages because this to me was the most fascinating point about the song. Paul was 26, John is 28, Ringo is 28, and George is 25. I didn't know they were that young when they did this song. What were you guys doing between the ages of 25 and 28? I was on AOL chat asking for ASLs, eating Tortino's pizza, wearing an NWO t-shirt. I wasn't doing one of the greatest songs to ever, hit the stage. When the Get Back, Don't Let Me Down single came out in May 1969, it was advertised as the Beatles as nature intended. The first Beatles record, which is as live as it can be in this electronic age. So they were really going out there and saying, this is us stripped down raw, and this is how we sound. I know John had a lot of reservations about his voice, and he was very self-conscious about how he sounded, but once the song hit, he did phenomenal. Billy Preston, as you both mentioned, on keyboard, taking a break from Ray Charles's band. In 1980, the year of his death, Lennon summed up the inspiration for the song tersely, as you mentioned. That's me singing about Yoko. McCartney later went on into more detail. It was a very tense period. John was with Yoko, and it had escalated to heroin and all the accompanying paranoias, and he was putting himself out on a limb. I think that as much as it excited and amused him, at the same time, it secretly terrified him. So Don't Let Me Down was a genuine plea. That's why he sings it with such conviction and emotion and such pathos. The emotional intensity that you guys mentioned, on point to sing it. It was so difficult for John, who asked Ringo Starr to provide a cymbal crash just before his vocals to give him the courage to come in screaming. Some of the bands that have covered this song, Garbage, Maroon 5, Matchbox 20, and Billy Corgan's band Zwan. Joseph, can you give us a little Billy Corgan covering Don't Let Me Down? I don't know if you have it in you.
I don't think I can do that. We. Oh, that's all we can ever do.
Don't let me down. Okay, forget that. We'll cut that out. Okay.
Please, God.
You watch the rooftop performance, and it's so good to see John and Paul smile at each other despite the tension. It was an acknowledgement of this is what it's all about. That felt like the last moment of like, yeah, this we came this far. This is who we were. It's a simple song. John Lennon told Playboy magazine that Rod Stewart copied this song from Maggie May. I don't see the connection. And you guys mentioned this. The visuals are just great. The fur coats and John's tooth fillings. The only person who made more money off this song than the Beatles was John's dentist. All right. The people in the background are just like, Beatles are playing. Let's just go about our day, which I thought was hilarious. It only peaked at number 35 on the Billboard Hot 100. So that's a shocker. We can interpret this how we want. I think it's a call for help. It's a salute to the music, and it's a love letter about letting go. And what sucks about this song is that they could have had another 10 or 15 years because they were transitioning into this new 70s era of sound. They could have had hits for a long, long time. And by the way, if any of you, I'm sorry, if you know any other lyric to those who are listening to I Got My Mindset on You, aside from I Got My Mindset on You, please leave a voicemail on Memo FM. We'd love to hear you singing that song. And we would post a recording of it on this podcast. But it's a great song. I was never a big fan of this song. I was always aware of it. And then you guys started talking about it, so I started listening to it more and more often. It's just a smooth song. It's just a smooth, almost doesn't have a genre. It's just like friends getting together and acknowledging each other. And I think that's what's sweet. And I know it's about Yoko, but to me, I think the way they played it just seemed like it was about them and nobody else existed in the world. And I thought that was just such a special thing for them.
What's really cool about it is, I mean, you don't see it, but in the documentary, like the cops are downstairs and they're like, hey man, you got to shut this down. It's causing a lot of disturbance. And the cops go up and they're on the roof and they're standing in the doorway of the roof. And like, Ringo looks and Lennon sees him and Harrison sees him and Paul turns around, sees him. And instead of like stopping, they start fucking jamming harder and they play the next song. They sing Don't Let Me Down. They sing Get Back even louder. And like they're like, fuck these guys. We're going to continue doing what we're doing. And they're just so happy and with each other, like you said, and playing together, especially now knowing that the cops are here to shut us down. Fuck that. We're going to keep going. Like I thought that was, it really is an amazing performance. And this song being one of them. The Rooftop is iconic.
And guys, I know we're running out of time, but let's just end it with this last question. Tell us what you guys think the biggest impact the Beatles have provided for music or for life in general.
I can go. I think the writing of their own music and lyrics being being so impactful, dude. I mean, they wrote amazing lyrics. Now, besides that, they created so many different genres of music and rock in general, which really produced some of the greatest hits. I mean, the greatest type of music that we had in 70s rock and roll. I mean, they had the psychedelic, they had the hard rock, they had the pop rock, they had the commercial. They did a lot of great different genres of music, and I think that was a huge impact. And speaking for Joseph, quickly, Nirvana may not have been Nirvana. Kurt Cobain may not have been wanted to be an artist and guitar player if it wasn't for John Lennon, who was his idol. It wasn't for the fucking Beatles, him growing up and listening to that. So I think they had a really big impact on musicians of all different decades and all different generations because of the way they played and how they played their music and the sounds that they created.
Like what Bob mentioned, specifically with bands, and they've clearly influenced a lot of the music that I listen to today. Specifically, Bob mentioning Nirvana. I know that in the recording of Nevermind, a lot of the times when Butch Vig wanted to have Kurt try something, specifically like I believe overdubbing vocals, he used to always say, according to him, like when Kurt kind of didn't want to do it, he would say, well, Lennon did it. Lennon would do it. And then it would kind of push, because he knew, like you mentioned, he was such a fan and inspired. So, and it would push Kurt to do things like that. And just, we're going to say this again one more time. And I know we've talked about the Beatles like 2 weeks in a row. So I'm going to cut from the Beatles, but clearly the influence on today. I mean, like Bob has mentioned, his kids, and I'm sure Randy, the same thing with you.
Timeless.
Them listening to another incident or thing like this, that comes to mind is I remember we were out one time. I think we were probably in our early 30s, Bob. Went out.
We're still in our early 30s.
I don't know, or maybe even younger. I don't know. I remember we went to. We had to have been like 29, 30. I don't know. I don't know. Anyway, yeah, the years are blending together. Anyway, I just remember us going out one afternoon after work, and we went to a place, and I remember I went to the jukebox, and I specifically put this song on, and one of the waitresses that was working there, I mean, it was a bar, so they had to at least been, I don't know if 21. You have to be at least 21 to 23. So I'd say 21 to 23, and I think we were like in our maybe 10 years older than them. And even for us to like that song or to like the Beatles, I don't think we were too far off. But this girl, like, I just remember specifically because I put that song on, and the counter was like right next to the jukebox, and I just remember her going, "I love that song," and I was like, and I gave her a thumbs up, and like, because I was like, and it just reminded me like, wow, like, because she had to have been like 21 to 23 years old. We were how old we were, and it just generation after generation, they love this music, down to like, toddler. Well, they're not toddlers, but like I said, you're young kids, and it's going to continue. That's what's crazy. So that's probably one of the biggest impacts that I guess is going to keep going.
I absolutely agree with both of you. I don't think their music will ever die, and I think the best is yet to come in terms of how much more we get to learn about this band. I think there'll be movies out in the future. I mean, there have been Beatles inspired movies. They've had their own movies. And then you got movies like That Thing You Do, where they took a lot of elements of the Beatles, which is a great underrated movie. I think, when you think about the influences, not only Nirvana, not only Oasis, which I know is a running joke, but even Pet Sounds by the Beach Boys. Brian Wilson, who is a madman himself, thought, I got to make an album that sounds as good as with the Beatles.
You saying Brian Wilson from the Beach Boys is a madman? That's fucking hilarious.
You got to read up on him. Read about how maniacal and how
I'm working on good vibration.
Watermelon fasts and drugs and crazy shit that he did.
Oh yeah, dude. It was the 60s and 70s. Those guys are crazy, man. I know. Yeah. I'm just giving him shit.
No, you're good. But no, they're going to inspire so many people for years to come, and nobody's ever going to let this music go away. Every generation, as you mentioned, our kids are, generations after, and the Beatles are here to stay and forever. And I have this sort of mental list, like what would be like the biggest tragedy. I know it's kind of a morbid thing to talk about because we've lost a bunch of celebrities this year. By the way, rest in peace, Gilbert Gottfried, who we just lost last week. I would think like, if Paul McCartney, he'll eventually pass away, but when he does, I think that's going to be like the biggest like celebrity death. I think. I mean, and I hate to categorize it because I know it's not a fun thing to talk about, but when you think about music legends, like I think about very few, like Elton John and Paul McCartney and a few others who are out there. You could say Madonna, but I think when Paul McCartnney eventually dies, that's going to be a huge loss, and it's just going to be. Wow, like, I mean, the music these guys made together, just amazing.
Way to bring down the mood.
just thinking out loud, but that's our show, everyone. Listeners, we'd love to hear from you. Hit us up and let us know what is your favorite Beatles song. Most importantly, let us know what you think about the show. You may reach us at formidableopponents@gmail.com. And you can follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook by searching for Formidable Opponents. And a special shout out to Creative Little Pill, Dina, who gave us a great cover art. It's actually really funny. We enjoyed that cover art. We like when we're part of the characters of when that's going
whatever
on.
Our topic is. Yeah. I honestly think that the 80s one and the Kiss one was really good as well. Yeah, you got to check out our cover art. I mean, you don't see the cover art on Apple Podcasts, but if you go to Spotify, you can check out all our cover arts. We have some really, really good ones.
Yeah, we have ones as well. Primo.
We have
Emo Primo. Emo Primo. Oh yeah. You know what Emo Primo is, right? That's what we kind of look like. It's that comedian. What's his name? Cholo Fit. What's his name? The comedian. Anyways,
I can't remember his name.
Just go to YouTube, Brian, and type in Emo Primo and watch it. He does a skit with Felipe Esparza.
Emo Primo.
Emo Primo. Yeah.
I'll check it out.
And he looks like us dressed as Beatles, or one of us. I'm not gonna say who, but I'm pointing at you.
This is our longest outro. Okay, so you also may reach us at memo.fm/formidable opponents. Please leave us a message. We'd love to feature your voice on our podcast, any future podcast. Suggestions, comments, jokes, anything you guys would like to send us. So for Bob and Joseph, I'm Randall. We'll see y'all next week as we will do best 80s movie montage. That's going to be a fun one because we got
that'll be a lot of fun.
Fun things lined up. So once again, for Bob and Joseph, this is Randall. We'll see y'all next week.
Hey, TikTok, let it be, bro.
Number 9.